All right. So this is a heartbreaking video for me to make because I'm coming at this from the angle of someone who grew up watching the industry become what it is from practically the beginning. My first console was the original NES, and it is what really shaped my passion for the video game industry, wanting me to learn how to create video games and begin to start doing that. And on top of that, just being passionate about video games as a whole. And that's also what led me into learning other things like how to program and things like that. And given recent events going on with Nintendo, as much as I've tried to ignore it, I can't do that anymore. And I'm going to get into more context why. All right, so I want to start off with this post made by Palworld. Now, for those who don't know what Palworld is an indie game that is very much inspired by Pokemon. A lot of people describe this game as Pokemon with guns. It's made by Pocket Pair, and they are in the middle of a lawsuit right now with Nintendo over quote-unquote copyright infringement. Now, I want to start off with full disclosure. If it had not been for this game, I might not have gotten into Pokemon as much. I never really got into it when it was during its craze in the 90s. And when this game came along, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give the actual Pokemon game a try. And so it's actually because of this game, and I'm not the only one, by the way, with that, but it's because of this game that I get into it. So I'm going to read through this whole deal here, and then I'm going to explain why this upsets me so much. So it says, regarding the lawsuit, changes to Palworld and the future, we would like to express our sincere gratitude and appreciation for the continued support of our fans over the past few months. We apologize for not being able to share as much information as we would like, but we trust our fans understand how difficult it is to be fully transparent while litigation is ongoing. Fair enough. Currently, we remain involved in prolonged legal proceedings regarding alleged patent infringement. We continue to dispute these claims and assert the invalidity of the patents in question. However, we have had to make certain compromises in order to avoid disruptions to the development and distribution of Palworld. It says, on November 30th, 2024, we released patch version 0.3.11 for Palworld. This patch removed the ability to summon POWs by throwing POW spheres and instead changed it to a static summon next to the player. Okay, so what I'm gathering from this here is that Nintendo basically is saying, oh, well, you're using a ball to summon creatures. That's a game mechanic that is supposedly copyrighted. And I'm gonna get into my distaste for that here in a minute, but let's continue. Several other game mechanics were also changed with this patch. As many have speculated, these changes were indeed a result of the ongoing litigation. Everyone here at Pocket Pair was disappointed that this adjustment had to be made. Rightfully so. And we fully understand that many players feel the same frustration, unfortunately, as the alternative would have led to an even greater deterioration of the gameplay experience for players. It was determined that this change was necessary. So, okay, so here's my thing on this. I'm a big advocate of indie developers, but I will always put the needs of gamers, us the consumer, first. And because of Nintendo's actions, now it is affecting players as well. So just keep that in mind as I continue on. Furthermore, we regret to inform our players that with the implementation of patch version 0.5.5, we must take yet another compromise. From this patch onward, gliding will be performed using a glider rather than with POWs. I wasn't even aware that was a thing in Pokemon, I guess, or something Nintendo had. But anyway, POWs and the player's team will still provide passive buffs to gliding, but players will now need to have a glider. And I can already see Nintendo turning around saying, well, we have a glider in Zelda, so you can't have that. And I'm going to get into that here in a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, so we understand that this will be disappointing for many, just as it was for us, but we hope our fans understand that these changes are necessary in order to prevent further disruptions to the development of Palworld. We also want to extend our apologies to our fans for the discomfort and concern this ongoing litigation has caused. We remain committed to developing Palworld and delivering exciting new content for our fans. On behalf of everyone at Pocket Pair and Team Palworld, thank you again for your continued support. All right, so I want to start off with one quick thing here. This, if Nintendo wins this lawsuit, this opens up Pandora's box. Now, I might be far-fetched for saying this, but like, hear me out for a second. So Nintendo wins this lawsuit. Then the rest of the game industry looks at that and goes, oh, so we can go ahead and copyright game mechanics. And then so now let's say you're this indie developer and you're making a game and you want to put a health bar in your game. Standard mechanic in most games, right? Okay, now all of a sudden here comes, I don't know, let's say EA, and they're like, oh, you want to put a health bar in your game? Well, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to pay us a license fee to use that mechanic because we kind of already have this copyrighted. Oh, okay. Well, fine. I won't use the health bar. I guess I'll just put numbers on the screen instead. And then Nintendo comes along and says, oh, you want to put numbers on your screen to indicate your health. Well, you see, in our game Metroid, we kind of already have a similar mechanic to that. So you can't do that unless you want to pay us a license fee, which I've never heard of Nintendo really doing that. But as far as like license fees goes, maybe they have. I think they've done collabs, but I digress. Do you see where the slippery slope begins with this whole thing? It not only diminishes what the indie game developers can do, it crushes that. You know what I'm saying? And then you know who ends up hurting in the end? The gamers, the consumer. Because now these developers have to charge more for this game, so they have to try to keep working around because all these other companies decided we're going to copyright everything in the book. Next thing you know, we're going to have to pay $20 DLC so we can buy extra steps to continue on in the game. And I know this all sounds like it's far-fetched, but look at the state of the industry right now. I really feel like this is becoming a case, at least for me. Okay, so Nintendo, they are kind of the last man standing when it comes to the previous console generation, and I think that's why the industry does tend to look to them a lot. They're kind of like the elder of the video game industry. You know, they had the whole thing with Sega. You know, Sega used to do this thing where it's like Sega does what Nintendo don't. There was that whole back and forth feud. Well, now Sega doesn't do consoles anymore. They just do software. So Nintendo's been around for a very long time. This really is, so the industry does look to them. This is starting to look like a case of, it really is the hero that lived long enough to become the villain. And at this point, I just can't see myself continuing to support someone that I've been a long-time fan of. You know, sometimes I'm at a loss for words because I remember when Nintendo was great, and I've been a long-time fan of this company, and they make good games and they make good products, don't get me wrong. Now, if you want to continue to buy Nintendo products, you know, I'm not going to judge, right? I'm not here to tell you what you can and can't do with your money. And let's not even touch on the fact that it sounds like the Nintendo Switch 2 is probably going to go up in price now. And to me, that is either at worst arrogance and at best greed. And I'm kind of to a point where I can't support Nintendo as a company anymore. I can't sit here and watch them step on the little guys because they were the little guys at one point themselves. It's like they forgot their roots. And so I don't think I'm going to buy a Switch 2, and I don't think I'm going to buy anything related to Nintendo, at least not for now, until maybe they can do something to prove that I can, you know, trust them again. And it's sad because I'm looking forward to so many games. I would love to play the next Metroid. I would love to play the next Zelda. But sometimes you got to take a stand for something, and you got to put your own wants aside to stand by your own values and morals. And I can't support a company that does that. I don't buy EA games. And I don't buy, there's a lot of companies now I don't buy games from. I mean, most of the games in the AAA space, most of it's garbage to me. Every once in a while, there's a gem that comes out. But I know I'm going on a tangent now, but I just wanted to bring this to everyone's attention. And at the end of the day, if this is something that you can't support yourself, then vote with your wallet. That's the only way these companies are going to listen. But all right, I'm going to go ahead and end it there. If you did enjoy this video, please give a like. I would really appreciate it. And if you're new here and you did enjoy it, please consider subscribing. All right, peace out.